Have you ever felt like a fraud, a fake, an imposter? Then you're going to want to listen to this episode because I talk more about what it is to be a fraud and some ways that you can avoid it. Hello, lovely dynamic women, and welcome to the Dynamic Women podcast. I am Diane Rolston, your host, and today we're going to talk about how to stop being a fraud, or if you prefer the word fake or imposter, we're going to talk about all three of those. Now, why should we care about that? Well, because we are dynamic women, and feeling like a fraud, a fake, an imposter is going to stop you from reaching the goals that you want. And so I want you to get rid of that nagging feeling of, I'm not really as competent as others perceive me to be. Now, you may use the word specifically imposter syndrome. I just want to move that aside because I think that has so much power over our lives. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about feeling like a fraud, where I've seen that come into play a lot in the coaching that I do or in the opportunities I offer, and some solutions for you. Sound good? Well, then let's go for the ride. And a reminder that you have the opportunity to listen to this as a podcast on the Dynamic Women podcast or watch it on the Diane Rolston YouTube channel as a video. Okay, let's dive in. Um, Feeling like a fraud is holding us back. It's stopping us from achieving what we want to achieve. And we shouldn't have to feel this way. And I have personally struggled with feeling this way at different points in my career, in my life, as an athlete, as a first time mom. I know how isolating it can be to feel this way. And I want to help you to stop feeling this way by understanding it and by having some tools to be able to overcome it. So, as I said, feeling this way is because you think that you're not as competent as how other people see you, perceive you, view you, maybe the pedestal that they put you on. And this happens even though you've had probably accomplishments or you have had experiences or you've been chosen to be in that position that you're in. The funny thing is, studies say that about 70% of people will experience this feeling at some point in their lives. Even high achievers, even famous people, celebrities, even people who win awards, they can feel like this. And there are things that can cause this to happen. It might be perfectionism, right? So you already have extremely high standards that you've either set for yourself or other people have set for you. Maybe growing up, a parent, a coach, a teacher has set this for you. And so you feel like a failure when you're not absolutely perfect all the time. I can remember in high school getting really good grades and always handing everything in. And somehow I missed a homework assignment, and I was in the library trying to quickly get it done, knowing that on the lunch break, I'm not going to be able to get it completely finished perfectly. And I started crying because I was like, I'm going to lose a percentage because of this right here. In the big scheme of things, it didn't matter. But at the time, perfectionism really hit me hard. Another thing that could be causing you to feel like a fraud is having a fear of failure, right? And so if you're feeling like, I don't deserve the successes I've had, then you may feel like I'm not going to be able to have these great results. Um, and you may feel like they're coming from luck, they're coming from other people's support rather than your own abilities. And so when your self-esteem, self-efficacy are low as well, it's going to really kind of impact how you feel and cause you to feel like a fraud. And that gets into the third one, which is around low self-esteem. So when you have low self-esteem, it can cause you to self-doubt, to doubt yourself and to not believe that you're good enough. And Brene Brown has proven that the number one limiting belief is I'm not good enough, even though you might have all the evidence to say differently. So those are some of the internal things that could cause you to feel this way. And so let's look at some external factors. What about society's pressures and expectations of you? Uh-huh. How many times have you judged a mom for being on her phone on the playground? Mhm. I'm sure you have. Or kids that are on screens while they're at dinner, right? So there are expectations of how we need to be in every single role in our lives, and if we don't meet up to that, then we're not amazing and we're gonna feel like a fraud. How about when we compare ourselves to others? Have you ever been scrolling, even doom scrolling on social media, and you see the perfect family in matching outfits? You see the amazing business owner with perfect things happening in the business and all the money they're making. There's so much marketing BS out there around how much people are making and how it just things just happened. Yeah, right. Things don't just happen. I can remember in one of the presentations I do, I share a photo of my family, and everyone's like, "Wow, such a perfect family." And the truth I always tell everyone is that that was 3 photos that were digitally edited together to make sure that everyone was looking at the camera and smiling. There you go. I think I was the only original face, and everyone else's was added in. So when we compare ourselves to others, we feel like a fraud because we don't know their backstory. We don't know everything else that's happened to help them get there. I can remember first moving to North Vancouver and started looking for houses, actually looking for apartments because it was just my boyfriend and I, and then my fiance and I. And then thinking, okay, we got to move up something bigger because now we're going to be getting married and having kids, and so maybe let's look at a townhouse because this is our first home, and we don't know if we how big of a mortgage we can handle. And then we bought a townhouse, and very shortly after that, like the market just skyrocketed, and we had thought that we would actually break that the first 5-year mortgage we had, and we would buy something bigger. But we just wanted to like get our feet wet, figure out where in North Vancouver we wanted to live. And then, yeah, the market shot. I ended up having a baby and starting my business. And so I was more of a risk to the banks. And so when I eventually was in like a group of moms, I was noticing everyone had all these big homes. And I was super, super jealous. I felt like a fraud, like, oh, I'm only in a townhouse. And again, no knocking people in townhouses. I'm still in a townhouse. It just that at the time I felt like a fraud. Like I'm not this big successful business owner. And all these people have these amazing homes. Well, after getting to know them a little bit more, what I realized was some of the homes were actually kind of like passed from parents. Some were paid for with the help of parents. Some people were scraping by because it was so expensive and they had to rent out the basement unit as well as have like an international student. And others were renting. It wasn't even their house. And so there were all of these different factors where I was like, okay, so I'm comparing myself to these people, but I don't know their full story. I hope you're not doing that. And the last is maybe there is some culture in your business network, in your workplace that is super competitive and unsupportive, where they're pointing out the things that you're doing wrong and you feel inadequate. So those are 6 factors that could be causing you to feel like a fraud. And if you're not sure if you are feeling like a fraud, then let's look at some common signs of being an imposter. You maybe overwork, you take on more work to compensate for feeling inadequate. Or do you attribute your success to luck rather than skill? You're like, nah, I just got lucky, right place, right time, great team. You don't actually just receive it, you push it off on others. Or do you have a fear of being found out? That maybe it's your first time writing a report or taking on a big client, or you're like waiting for that email that where the client will say, actually, no, I don't want to work with you anymore because you feel like that's coming. So these are some signs that maybe you are feeling like a fraud. What I've actually seen is when I put out with 52 other authors, when I put out the Dynamic Women Success Secrets book, it was really interesting because a lot of the authors didn't want to promote that the book came out. And I was like, why not? This is a big accomplishment. And then when it came to the party, not only were a lot of the authors not inviting their family, their friends, their network, their clients, they weren't even going to show up themselves. And that was shocking for me because I'm like, this is a major accomplishment. You need to be there, right? We want to celebrate you and have you autograph the books. And what eventually I kind of pried out of the authors, not, and this not everyone, but a lot of the authors, was they didn't feel like a real author for many reasons. One, they said, well, I didn't write the whole book, therefore I'm not really an author. Yeah, you are. You're a collaborative author. You're a co-author. You're definitely an author. Then they said, well, I had someone help like edit it. So major authors have editors. Why would you not have an editor? You should actually have like 3 editors. And then they were also saying, well, what I shared wasn't actually that great. So they're downplaying it and like pushing aside the value of what they're offering. Um, and also they were like, but yeah, but Diane, you published it and it was too easy. I actually didn't really do much work. And so it's really interesting how all of these factors made them feel like a fraud, even though by definition they were a published author and should be celebrating it. So in your life, maybe in some place you feel like a fraud, and maybe you are hiding things. Maybe your marriage isn't that great and you're hiding that because there's no right place for you to share that, and that's okay. I encourage you to go find somewhere where you can share that. I joke with my coaches, um, my life coaches and the ones that support me in like a real deep way. I joke with them and I say, I think I just pay you to hear me cry because when I go to them, I bring my mess, right? I bring the rawness. I bring the pieces that are the hardest for me to handle so that I can be magnificent in the world. I'm not going to divulge every single little thing that I'm struggling with, but that helps me to be able to be real about things that I'm going through. And so if you're feeling like a fraud because you've got a front up and you're not being real about situations, please just make sure you have someone in your life that can support you through that. So I'm going to go through some strategies to get over feeling like a fraud and some real solutions so that you can start stepping into the confidence of being in that position. So 3 main things. The first one is you got to change your mindset, right? And so anytime you have these negative beliefs, limiting beliefs, saboteurs that come up, you need to challenge what they're saying to you. So for these authors, if they're like, you're not really an author, like challenge that. Am I really an author? Yeah, my book's on Amazon. I have a book in my hand. I'm autographing the book. My name's in the book. You are an author. Okay, so challenge the negative thoughts. If the negative thought is you didn't write something worth reading, ask someone, what do you think about what I wrote? Ask me, Diane, why did you put me in the book? What did you think about my piece? Like, get that feedback so that you can go against those negative thoughts. Next is to practice some self-compassion. Like, treat yourself with some kindness. Be like, okay, I feel a little bit off here. I feel like I maybe don't belong here. And I've had those thoughts, maybe being at a party where everyone is wearing all the top brands and talking about facelifts or Botox or whatever. And I'm like, well, I feel definitely like I don't fit in here. Like, like I've got some work to do or things to buy or whatever. And then I just gave myself some kindness and understanding that I am who I am and I don't have to be like everyone else. And so being myself, I can speak freely as myself, and I don't need to pretend that I'm anything else. And the last thing is to celebrate your achievements. And I talk about this a lot, especially in the Dynamic Year program and the Dynamic Year Journal, because when you can keep that journal, those weekly writing down of all your achievements and positive feedback that you get from others, you're going to start to lock it in your brain that you're pretty amazing, that you're awesome, that all these reasons why, because a lot of times we're looking at finding all the negative reasons why we're not that amazing. But if you have all of these really great reasons why you're great and have accomplished, you start to build that confidence. So the first one is changing your mindset. The next one is seeking some support. And I've already kind of mentioned this. So have people in your life where you can be real and you don't have to feel like a fraud. So you have friends, obviously, but then make sure you have some, if you're in a career, make sure you have mentors at work who you can kind of get support from, who can help you when you do feel like a fraud. Like I have to give this presentation. I've never given this type of presentation. I've never worked with this high-end client type before. Can you help me? Can you look things over? Can you give me feedback? And then having a coach or someone who can help you through these feelings, right? They will be able to call out your brilliance. They'll give you valuable perspectives that you can change, and they're going to give you reassurance. I have people in my life, coaches in my life that I'm like, tell me why I'm awesome. Tell me I can do this. Because I get in those places of like, "Ugh, that first step didn't go very well, and therefore this next thing won't." And you need people to cheer you on. And if you don't believe in yourself, hire people who do, because that's gonna really make it easier. Plus, when you're part of a group or you have a coach who can support you, they can also give you strategies. They can also be good brainstorming partners. They can also share their experience of how they did things and even how they were worried about something. And then so change your mindset, seek support. And then the last thing is be practical. Like, really, you are not going to potentially, you're not going to be on the New York Times bestseller list with your first book, right? And the very first video you make, you're not going to get a Grammy for it. You're not going to go viral on your first video. Some people maybe do, but most people do not. So set realistic expectations for yourself, because it's not going to all be perfect. And you're not going to be mastering something the very first time. Just focus on continuous learning, one step after another. And if you have a disappointment, grab the learning from it and just grow from it. And anytime you have these challenges, it's not a challenge because you're a fraud. It's a challenge because you haven't experienced it yet. You haven't learned it yet. You can focus on this being a moment of, oh my gosh, they're going to find me out, or, oh wow, this is a cool opportunity for me to improve, for this to make me more competent and be able to master it. So today I covered about why people feel like a fraud, those 6 reasons, internal and external reasons, 3 of each. Also gave you 3 ways to work around it and some strategies. I just want you to remember that so many people experience feeling like a fraud or a fake, and it's okay to feel this way. It's really normal to feel this way. Many times, every time I level up and I get into a bigger pond and I get around bigger players, I feel like a fraud. Like, do I really fit in here? Am I really a high income earner? Like in the CAPS community? Am I really someone who is like a VIP level and gets to attend this event? Am I really this person? And so just don't let that stop you feeling that kind of questioning. Don't let that stop you from recognizing your true worth and your value in the world. You're not alone. Many people have felt this in many parts of their life. Even at the top success levels, you're going to feel it. So don't think you got to outgrow it. You're going to keep feeling it. You just need to put the tactics into place so that you don't. And the key thing is, don't let it define you. Yes, it's maybe a feeling. Oh, I feel like a fraud. You feel like a fraud. It's not you are a fraud. Okay. If you're saying I'm a doctor and you're not really a doctor, then okay, yes, you're a fraud. If you say you're a coach, but you didn't take any training to be a coach, then you're a fraud. Yeah. So as long as you're authentically doing what you say you're doing, then that's fine. I encourage you to share. I would love to hear how you have felt like a fraud, where in your life. Maybe if you have other coping strategies, I'd love to know them as well. The Dynamic Women community, online community that we have on Facebook, that's a really great place where we can support each other. And so you're going to be able to share those thoughts. So when the post around this comes on, I hope that you will go on there and you will share just how this has impacted you. And if you found this episode helpful, please share it with someone who might benefit from it. Share it with a friend, a coworker, a new acquaintance, a neighbor. Let them know about the podcast or the YouTube channel so that they can stop feeling like a fraud as well. I love hearing from you. So on your preferred social platform, send me a message or join the Dynamic Women online community on Facebook. It's free to join. We'll make sure that there's a link in there. And I wanted to make sure that you heard that we have now, we're doing the next book, the Dynamic Women Leadership Secrets book. And we are doing a call for collaborative authors. And so if you'd like to learn more about that, and you'd also like to learn a little bit more about, what is it like to be a collaborative author? I am doing a training soon, on June 18th from 10 to 11:30. It is called Collaborative Author 101: How to Explode Your Audience, Establish Your Authority, and Leave a Legacy by Entering the World of Co-Writing. And so if you're feeling like a fraud about being an author or writing a book, then this is a really great session for you, because I'm going to go through the top 10 benefits of being a collaborative author so that you can increase your revenue. I'm also going to talk about the 5 myths that you've been led to believe that are causing you to not be an author. One of them might be imposter syndrome, right? 3 secrets to get off to a fast start to being an author. I'm also going to share tips and tricks if you're looking at a collaborative experience and wanting to get the most out of it. Plus, I'm going to give you a bonus of the top 2 ways I use my book, the Dynamic You book, to earn more money. Plus, I'm going to share all the exciting details about the Dynamic Women Leadership Secrets book that you can be an author in. So don't wait. Make sure you go to the show notes and grab your spot to be part of this free training. Until next time, everyone, don't be a fraud. Don't feel like a fraud. Put some of my strategies into play and stay dynamic. Bye.